Hi everyone, welcome to today's video about Nio and Xpeng. It's been an interesting question over the past year if Xpeng is actually the better investment in the short term. My conclusion has kind of been yes, that Xpeng for sure has been the better investment in kind of short term. We can see that Xpeng actually has, I think over 1 year's time frame, it's been up 30%, whereas Nio has been down 30% over the same time. So that's a 60% difference between these two companies over 1 year's time frame. You can see here Nio down 33%. If we now go back to have a look at Xpeng's over the same time frame, and we can see that it's kind of up around exactly the same, 33%. Now the question is, will this outperformance continue? And why? Actually, the more interesting question is, why do you think that Xpeng has been performing better in the stock market? Especially considering that Nio still is kind of selling more cars than Xpeng does. Remember, like if you look at the yearly delivery numbers in terms of charts, Nio delivered 221,000, Xpeng 190. So it's essentially the same kind of difference, 20 to 30,000 difference between Nio and Xpeng. So why did we see Xpeng, outperforming Nio by 60 to 65% in terms of stock price? I think the main question there is the net loss. I'm sorry to, continue to hammer on this point. Xpeng's management seems to care more about the net loss in the short term more, and for me, that's the main reason why the market is kind of, performing better in terms of the Xpeng market stock price than Nio. That's the simple explanation in my opinion. I think the moment Nio's net loss improves and shows like a few quarters of improvement, that's when I think the stock price will kind of go up again. Now looking at the other stuff, one of the burdens of Nio stock price has been, in my opinion, the swap infrastructure. We can see for sure that it's kind of gaining momentum. Slowly but surely, they're going up from around the low 80,000 on daily averages, number of swaps, to, 87. So we are very close to 90,000 now. That's a really good sign. And the, number of swaps per station is also going up. We are currently at 31. That's great to see because we were like at 24 at the beginning of last year. So that's a substantial 40% increase year over year, despite, my complaints that they've been increasing the swap stations. But despite that they have been increasing the swap stations by, 800 or so stations over last year, they now actually show that, the swaps per station is going up slowly but surely. So that's a good sign because it means that in the long term, Nio's other sales will for sure start to be, profitable at some point soon. I think Nio's other sales has been a burden over the long term, but I think for sure that as the fleet size increases and as the swaps per station increases, we will start to see a situation where by end of maybe this year or next year, Nio will start to make money on the swap infrastructure. That's the goal, at least. That's the hope. If not, then we have big problems. But in the short term, I think Xpeng is still the better player. But now comparing to the like weekly insurance registration numbers, it wasn't a great week for Nio. The other companies kind of either stayed at the same level or kind of a little bit outperformed. You can see that Tesla went from 5,500 to 7,800. Nio sadly went from 5,300 to 3,300. You can see that Xpeng went from 7,000 to 7,400. Now, interestingly, this is the second week in a row for this year that Nio and Xpeng combined outperformed Tesla. If you include last week of 2024, it's the third straight week that they outperformed Tesla. Are we starting to see the signs that, Tesla struggling in China? Honestly, I saw the new Model Y in China, and I think I have to be honest, this car is ugly. I would never in my life buy this car. This is possibly contender for the ugliest car that I've ever seen. And I've been a huge Tesla fanboy over the last 5, 6, 7 years, trust me. I even had a Tesla Model 3 and I was very happy with it. But I have to be honest with you, this car is ugly. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know, what are they doing? Like, how could they possibly, what is this even? It's a monster. So I think this is good news for Nio and Onvo in long term. I would never ever buy that car over an Onvo, just based on looks. So I think you shouldn't take, 1 week's data as a, kind of trend basis, because it's going to change. You cannot put your whole entire investment thesis on 1 week's data. For all we know, they could export some cars last week. I mean, we don't know. And in all honesty, compared to the second week of previous year, 2024, they're like doubling that number. They delivered around 1,700 cars in the same period last year, and they are at 3,300. So it's a year-on-year improvement of almost 100%. But I have to be honest with you, and you can see that compared to the others, they had a bad week compared to the others. That's the honest truth. But again, don't take, it's just 1 week. We don't know. Maybe next week it's going to be reversed. Or maybe Xpeng is going to be worse than Nio is going to be the best. Let's wait and see. It's a couple of days to the next data point on Tuesday. Lithium carbonate price still stuck in these low prices. Although if you zoom out, we are kind of potentially going back to the 80s again for the second time in the past 4 or 5 months. Could that, be a upwards trend again? But still, again, at the 5-year chart, you can see that it's way down compared to the peaks. So nothing to complain there. And in all honesty, I think it all comes down to the, which one of these stocks do you believe is going to outperform? I was very confident over the past 6 months that Xpeng was the better choice. I think it's turned out to be true, sadly for us, because I'm also a Nio investor and I've been heavily in Nio over the past 4 years. But now the question is, will 2025 be the same where Xpeng outperforms Nio by 65%? I don't know. My gut feeling right now says it depends a lot on how quickly these two companies are kind of turn profitable. My gut feeling says that Xpeng is closer right now, so potentially they will be rewarded with the stock price, even in 2025. The other side of the argument though is that Xpeng is, if they go up 10, 15, 20% more, they're going to have double the market cap of Nio. And Nio still is selling more cars combined on an annual rate. Although you could argue that maybe that's going to change this year because at the rate that Xpeng is growing is very fast. So it's difficult a discussion. And the good side is that I think Nio is, in a sense, there's less risk with Nio now because of the, the price action of the last 4 years, and Xpeng has kind of doubled the bottom at least. I think at some point a couple of years ago they have to have been at 6 or let's have a look at it. What was the stock price? Yeah, can see that it was like at around $6.50 in a couple of years ago. So they're well above their, the lows of the last 2 or 3 years, whereas Nio is just barely above. I think they were like at 3.8 or something, and now they're at 4 something. So it's difficult to say. Everything comes with a risk, but at the moment, I like Xpeng more in terms of share price. I think there's, just for the simple reason that the management seems to be more serious in terms of how quickly to turn this ship profitable. And I mean, if Nio manages to sell 400,000 cars, kind of same level as Xpeng is also expected, there shouldn't be any reason why Nio shouldn't cut their net loss by a substantial amount. I'm not talking like 10%. I would like to see like a 50, 60, 70% reduction in net loss. They have to show it. Otherwise, it's a big problem for Nio. But yeah, so again, don't, I hope no one does it like they did a couple of weeks ago where they got angry and they threatened me with, because I was kind of a little bit cautious about Nio's price action and the company's future in the short term. But that's my honest view, that Xpeng seems to be a little bit more serious with turning profitable. But in long term, I still believe in Nio more. I think they're going to be a more disruptive company in the long term. So that's going to be all for today. Please like, subscribe and comment, and see you in the next one.